Iron Man 2008 follows Tony Stark, a wealthy industrialist and engineer who owns Stark Industries, a company specializing in weapons manufacturing. During a trip to Afghanistan to demonstrate the Jericho missile, he is ambushed by the Ten Rings, an armed group that seeks advanced weaponry. Severely wounded by shrapnel, he is kept alive by an electromagnet implanted in his chest, powered by a device called the arc reactor. While being held captive in a cave, Stark is forced to build a missile, but instead constructs a powered suit of armor with the help of Ho Yinsen, a doctor who stabilizes his condition. Yinsen sacrifices himself to allow Stark to escape, and Stark returns to the United States, publicly announcing that Stark Industries will stop making weapons. This angers Obadiah Stane, Stark's business partner, who secretly orchestrated the ambush and has been supplying arms to the Ten Rings. Stark refines his armor, incorporating repulsor technology for propulsion and weaponized blasts. With assistance from his personal assistant Virginia Pepper Potts and military officer James Rhodey Rhodes, Stark investigates Stane's activities. Potts discovers that Stane stole Stark's original armor design and created a larger, heavily armed suit called the Ironmonger. Stane also develops a method to paralyze Stark and steal his arc reactor, leaving him to die. But Stark survives by using an earlier prototype. In a battle at Stark Industries, Stark fights Stane, ultimately defeating him by overloading the large reactor in the facility. Later, Stark holds a press conference where he publicly declares, "I am Iron Man." In the final scene, Nick Fury, director of S.H.I.E.L.D., an intelligence and security agency, visits Stark, mentioning the Avengers initiative, an effort to bring together exceptional individuals to address global threats. The Incredible Hulk 2008 follows Bruce Banner, a scientist who, after exposure to gamma radiation during an experiment, transforms into a massive, highly durable, and immensely strong being known as the Hulk whenever he experiences extreme stress or anger. Hiding in Rocinha, Brazil, he seeks to control his condition while secretly communicating with Samuel Stearns, a cellular biologist in New York, who attempts to develop a cure. Meanwhile, Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross, a high-ranking U.S. military officer who considers the Hulk a threat, leads a task force to capture Banner. Emil Blonsky, an experienced Special Forces operative working under Ross, volunteers to receive an altered version of the super soldier serum, enhancing his physical abilities. Banner is located, forcing him to transform and escape. He travels to Culver University in Virginia to reunite with Betty Ross, a cellular biologist and Banner's former romantic partner. The military attacks, leading to another transformation, during which Betty intervenes, stopping the assault. She and Banner flee to New York, where Stearns attempts to remove the gamma radiation from Banner's body. Meanwhile, Blonsky, desiring more power, forces Stearns to inject him with Banner's gamma-irradiated blood, causing him to mutate into the Abomination, a large, monstrous entity with greater strength than the Hulk. Abomination rampages through Harlem, prompting Banner to willingly transform and engage him in battle. After a destructive clash, the Hulk overpowers Abomination and spares his life. Banner escapes, later seen in British Columbia, Canada, attempting to control his transformations. In the final scene, Tony Stark approaches Thaddeus Ross in a bar, mentioning an initiative involving extraordinary individuals. Iron Man 2 2010 follows Tony Stark, a billionaire engineer who, after revealing himself as Iron Man, faces increasing pressure from the U.S. government to hand over his advanced armor technology. Unbeknownst to the public, the arc reactor in his chest, which sustains his life, is poisoning his bloodstream. Meanwhile, Ivan Vanko, an engineer from Russia seeking revenge for his family's downfall, builds his own energy-based weapons using arc reactor technology. During the Monaco Grand Prix, Vanko attacks Stark using electrified whips but is defeated and imprisoned. Justin Hammer, a weapons manufacturer and Stark's business rival, arranges for Vanko's escape to help develop an army of armored drones. Stark, struggling with his deteriorating health, appoints Virginia Pepper Potts as CEO of Stark Industries and hires Natalie Rushman, secretly Natasha Romanoff, an operative of S.H.I.E.L.D., to assist him. James Rhodey Rhodes, a high-ranking military officer and Stark's close associate, confiscates an Iron Man suit and delivers it to the U.S. Air Force. Nick Fury, director of S.H.I.E.L.D., provides Stark with information from Howard Stark, his late father, leading him to synthesize a new element that stabilizes his condition. At the Stark Expo in New York, Hammer unveils armored drones controlled by Vanko, who remotely takes over Rhodes' suit, forcing him to fight Stark. Romanoff and Harold Happy Hogan infiltrate Hammer Industries, restoring Rhodes' control. Stark and Rhodes battle the drones and Vanko, who dons a heavily armored Whiplash suit, ultimately defeating him. Afterward, Fury informs Stark that while not suitable for the Avengers initiative, he will act as a consultant. In a concluding scene, S.H.I.E.L.D. agent Phil Coulson arrives in New Mexico, discovering a large hammer embedded in the ground. Thor, 2011, follows Thor, the powerful prince of Asgard, who wields Mjolnir, a hammer enchanted with immense strength and control over storms. Asgard has long been in conflict with the frost giants of Jotunheim, ruled by Laufey. When Thor recklessly invades Jotunheim against the orders of Odin, the king of Asgard, he is stripped of his powers and exiled to Earth. His weapon is also cast down, enchanted so that only one worthy may lift it. Landing in New Mexico, he is discovered by astrophysicist Jane Foster, her mentor Eric Selvig, and her assistant Darcy Lewis, who study celestial anomalies. Meanwhile, Odin falls into the Odin sleep, a regenerative state, leaving Loki, Thor's adoptive brother who possesses cunning and illusion-based abilities, to assume the throne. Loki learns that he is Laufey's biological son, taken by Odin as a child. He secretly allows frost giants to enter Asgard, planning to betray and destroy them to prove himself as the rightful heir. On Earth, S.H.I.E.L.D., a covert intelligence agency led by Phil Coulson, secures Mjolnir and investigates Thor. Unable to lift the hammer, Thor realizes his unworthiness. Loki sends the Destroyer, an automated Asgardian construct with devastating energy projection, to eliminate Thor. Willingly sacrificing himself to protect others, Thor's worthiness is restored, and Mjolnir returns to him, restoring his abilities. He defeats the Destroyer and returns to Asgard to confront Loki, who initiates a plan to annihilate Jotunheim using the Bifrost Bridge, a cosmic transportation device. Thor shatters the bridge to stop Loki, who falls into deep space. Thor reconciles with Odin, but is unable to return to Earth. In a concluding scene, Selvig is recruited by S.H.I.E.L.D. director Nick Fury to study the Tesseract, an artifact of immense energy, as Loki watches unseen. Captain America, the first Avenger, 2011, follows Steve Rogers, a determined but physically frail man during World War II who wishes to enlist in the United States Army. His persistence draws the attention of Abraham Erskine, a scientist developing the super soldier serum, which enhances human strength, agility, and endurance. Howard Stark, an inventor and weapons specialist, assists in the procedure, and Peggy Carter, an officer in the Strategic Scientific Reserve, oversees the project. Rogers undergoes the transformation, gaining peak human abilities. Johann Schmidt, the leader of Hydra, a secretive Nazi science division, possesses an unstable version of the serum, disfiguring him into the Red Skull. Schmidt wields the Tesseract, a cosmic artifact of immense energy, to power Hydra's advanced weaponry. After Erskine's assassination by Hydra operative Heinz Kruger, Rogers is initially used for propaganda, but later proves himself in combat, leading the Howling Commandos, a group of elite soldiers, including James "Bucky" Barnes, his childhood friend. They dismantle Hydra facilities, but Barnes is lost in battle. Red Skull attempts to deploy weapons of mass destruction using a massive aircraft, the Valkyrie. Rogers boards the plane, confronts Schmidt, who is transported into space by the Tesseract's energy, and crashes the aircraft into the Arctic to prevent catastrophe. Presumed dead, Rogers is later discovered frozen in ice and revived in modern times, awakening in a facility overseen by S.H.I.E.L.D. director Nick Fury, who informs him he has been asleep for nearly 70 years. The Avengers, 2012, follows the formation of a team to counter a global threat. Loki, the exiled prince of Asgard, arrives on Earth using the Tesseract's energy, a powerful cosmic cube containing limitless energy. He allies with the Chitauri, a militaristic alien species, and uses his scepter, which houses the Mind Stone, to manipulate individuals, including Clint Barton, an expert archer known as Hawkeye, and Eric Selvig, an astrophysicist. S.H.I.E.L.D. director Nick Fury activates the Avengers Initiative, assembling Tony Stark, an industrialist in the Iron Man armor, Steve Rogers, a super soldier known as Captain America, Bruce Banner, a scientist who transforms into the Hulk due to gamma radiation exposure, and Natasha Romanoff, a skilled espionage operative called Black Widow. Thor, the god of thunder and Loki's adoptive brother, arrives to apprehend Loki. The group captures Loki and imprisons him on the helicarrier, S.H.I.E.L.D.'s airborne command center. Under Loki's influence, Barton attacks the ship, freeing Loki, while the Hulk loses control, leading to destruction. Agent Phil Coulson is killed in Loki's escape. The team regroups as Loki opens a wormhole above New York City using the Tesseract, allowing Chitauri forces to invade. The Avengers, now including Barton, battle the invaders. Stark intercepts a nuclear missile launched toward the city, guiding it through the wormhole before falling back to Earth. Romanoff uses Loki's scepter to sever the portal's connection, halting the invasion. Thor returns Loki and the Tesseract to Asgard. A mid-credits scene reveals Thanos, a powerful warlord, as the mastermind behind the attack. Iron Man 3, 2013, follows Tony Stark, a billionaire engineer using advanced armor as Iron Man, as he investigates a series of bombings linked to a terrorist known as the Mandarin. Suffering from anxiety after the Chitauri invasion, Stark obsessively builds new suits at his home in Malibu. When a bombing injures Happy Hogan, his former bodyguard, Stark publicly challenges the Mandarin, leading to an attack that destroys his residence. Escaping in a damaged suit, Stark arrives in Tennessee, where he meets Harley Keener, a young boy who aids him in repairing his armor. Stark discovers the bombings are linked to extremists, a a biotechnology developed by Aldrich Killian, a scientist who had been rejected by Stark years earlier. Extremis enhances individuals by regenerating limbs and increasing strength, but also causes explosive reactions. Killian orchestrated the Mandarin persona as a facade, using actor Trevor Slattery to mislead authorities while he carried out attacks. Stark's partner, Pepper Potts, is kidnapped and injected with Extremis. Stark infiltrates Killian's base alongside James Rhodes, an Air Force officer operating the War Machine armor, now rebranded as Iron Patriot. Stark deploys his legion of automated suits in battle. Potts, having survived the Extremis process, kills Killian. Stark destroys his suits, removes the shrapnel near his heart, and discards his arc reactor, stating that his intelligence defines him more than the armor. A post-credits scene reveals Stark recounting his story to Bruce Banner, who had fallen asleep. Thor: The Dark World 2013 follows Thor, a powerful Asgardian warrior wielding the enchanted hammer Mjolnir, as he confronts Malekith, the ruler of the Dark Elves. Thousands of years earlier, Malekith sought to use the Ether, a liquid-like force of destruction, to plunge the universe into darkness during the Convergence, a rare alignment of the Nine Realms. Asgard's King Bor, father of Odin, defeated Malekith and hid the Aether. In the present, Jane Foster, an astrophysicist and Thor's love interest, discovers the Ether in an abandoned realm and becomes its host. Thor brings her to Asgard, where Odin, the ruler of Asgard, warns that the Aether's power is nearly unstoppable. Malekith awakens, seeking to reclaim the Aether. He attacks Asgard, killing Frigga, Thor's mother. Seeking vengeance, Thor releases Loki, his adoptive brother, and a trickster sorcerer, from imprisonment to help him reach Malekith. They travel to the Dark Elves' desolate homeworld, where Malekith extracts the Ether from Jane. Loki deceives Malekith, but appears to die in battle. Thor and Jane return to Earth as the Convergence nears. In Greenwich, where the realms are converging, Malekith attempts to unleash the Ether's power. Thor battles him, using portals created by the Convergence to his advantage. With help from Jane and her team, he sends Malekith back to the world of the Dark Elves, where he is crushed by his own ship. Thor refuses the throne of Asgard, unaware that Loki has survived and is impersonating Odin. In a mid-credits scene, the Ether is given to the Collector, a cosmic being who collects powerful artifacts, revealing it to be an Infinity Stone.